I'm pregnant with Tom's child, so divorce him and hand him over to me. Suddenly, Michelle asked me. With tearful eyes, Michelle smiled faintly, stroking her belly, harboring the love child with my husband. Knowing Michelle's bad history with men, I couldn't even sigh. It wasn't surprising anymore. She used to switch boyfriends frequently during our student days. And she always seemed to target men who already had girlfriends. Michelle was shedding tears with her beautiful face. It was like an actress's performance. Well, let's see how long Michelle can keep up this facade. Fine, but you'll have to take on my husband's debts. No matter how much reality hit her, Michelle would activate her inherent positive thinking. I'm looking forward to seeing when that smile breaks. My name is Sally, and I'm 29 years old. I gave birth a year ago and recently returned to work. Colleagues often say to me, "Sally, you seem so unflappable. You're so elegant." I'm just an ordinary housewife now, but maybe it's because I was born into a wealthy family. When I was young, my father ran a fairly large company. Despite being busy, he took the family on domestic and international trips twice a year. My mother was beautiful and kind, even from my perspective. When I returned from school, the house was always filled with the sweet scent of her homemade cakes. She always prepared them for me. I also have a younger sister, Michelle, by 1 year. Michelle often wanted my favorite stuffed animals and new clothes. My mother never told me to be patient because you're the older sister. She patiently explained things to somewhat selfish Michelle. Thanks to my mother, ours was a home where voices were never raised. However, when I was in 6th grade, my father's company went bankrupt. As a result, our family moved to my mother's rural hometown. We went from a prestigious urban private elementary school to a rural public one. Everything in our lives changed. The school had only one class per grade, where everyone was friends. I was a novel transfer student, and it felt strange being asked so many questions. But I was thankful because I quickly made friends by sharing common interests like comic books. I fit in within a month. Meanwhile, Michelle became something of a haughty idol. "Sally, let's go home together." Without making any friends, she would come to my classroom after lessons. I wanted to go home with my friends, but I couldn't just brush Michelle off. Outside, she acted like a cute, adoring sister, but since moving to the countryside, she became more willful. "Hey, give me that glitter pen." "It doesn't suit you, Sally. You're such a country bumpkin now." "No, this is special. A new friend gave it to me because it's a matching set." "Matching, huh? How quaint. A cheap pen from an electronics store suits a bumpkin like you better." Her tantrums stopped, replaced by snickering as she took my things by force. I hate to describe my sister this way, but it felt malicious. I thought I was blessed with friends at my new school, but soon I found myself isolated in the classroom. "Hey, let's hang out after school." I tried inviting friends, but they were indifferent. "No, we won't." "Why? Did I do something wrong?" "We were never friends to begin with. I bet a city girl like you despises country bumpkins." I was taken aback, unable to understand their sudden anger. When I looked around, everyone in the class was giving me cold stares. Then, Michelle suddenly appeared. "Sally, let's go home together." With nowhere else to belong in the classroom, I quickly left school with Michelle pulling at her arm. "Sally, let's go home together again tomorrow." She was a bit selfish, but I believed Michelle was the only one who stood by me. Eventually, I found out why I was isolated. Someone had thrown away the glitter pen, identical to the one I had with my friend, in the school's trash bin. And it was labeled with a permanent marker, calling me a tacky country girl. I didn't do that. I desperately denied it, but thankfully, the teacher believed me and helped mend my friendship. We made up, but things never got back to how they were. Maybe if we were even younger, a simple sorry would have sufficed, but being in elementary school is a tricky age. My classmates accepted me again, but it felt like there was an invisible wall. Did Michelle do it? Michelle was the one who took the glitter pen from me. I couldn't help but suspect that she was the one who threw it away. "What are you talking about?" "I don't know anything." "Maybe it was harassment from the girls you thought were your friends." "Sally, they probably all hate you." No matter how much I pressed, Michelle just smirked and never admitted it. Even after that, weird rumors like me bad-mouthing friends circulated, and Michelle was the likely culprit. Yet, she clung to me with an innocent face, saying I love my Sally, which was frightening. Mom, who I relied on, had started working and was unaware of this situation. I didn't want to worry her with this extra burden. As a result, we were probably seen as loving sisters by others. Michelle didn't make specific friends for a while, but as a middle schooler, she started getting attention from boys. She was demure and mysterious, attracting them. But there was a problem: she would casually date boys who already had girlfriends. Oh, were you dating him? I'm sorry. But it's not like I seduced him. I was just loved. And she would even make taunting comments to the girls who got dumped. As a result, she made enemies of all the girls. But the boys doted on her. I wanted to pretend I didn't know her, but in a small town with only one class per grade, everyone knew we were close sisters. Sally, let's go home together. Strangely, despite having boyfriends and admirers, she always chose to go home with me. Michelle clung to my arm, acting like a cute kitten. Just when I managed to make friends, I couldn't bear being thought of as part of her man-crazy crowd. In fact, many girls saw me as an enemy. I had never even had a boyfriend, but because of Michelle, I felt terribly uncomfortable. Moreover, I was wrong to think boys didn't like me. It turned out Michelle was spreading rumors like my sister is so harsh to me, playing the tragic heroine. To girls, she seemed manipulative, but to boys, she appeared fragile. Wanting to distance myself from Michelle, I went to college in another state and got a job there. I wanted to see our parents, but I only returned home for the holidays because Michelle was there. Socializing, which I thought I was bad at, went smoothly once I was away from Michelle. After dating my first boyfriend for 2 years, we decided to get married. I had always dreamt of a wedding, but I couldn't bring myself to invite Michelle or my hometown friends. My husband, Tom, is a man with strong opinions. He's the opposite of me, who often checks on others, and I was drawn to his brightness and optimism. So you don't get along with your sister? It's not like we don't get along. You clearly don't get along. It's not like you're saying you hate her in front of her. Just be honest. Sally, you're too considerate. Well, from what I heard, your sister sounds like a concentrated version of the worst parts of a woman. No wonder you don't like her. Tom's laughter made my resentment towards Michelle feel a bit lighter. Tom is always smiling. Like when we were forgotten at a restaurant and waited over 30 minutes, he didn't get angry. No way, they forgot us. Sorry, it's okay. All good. Oh, so the meal will be discounted then, right? He dealt with the apologetic waiter with a laugh and ease. Though a bit brazen, Tom's brightness lightened up the mood. It's all good. This is Tom's catchphrase. I worried whether not having a wedding would upset my in-laws. It's all good, as Tom said, they didn't mind. When I found out I was pregnant, the anxiety about parenting outweighed the joy. But Tom encouraged me again with it's all good. Once born, my son Luke was irresistibly cute. Of course, there were anxieties and stress, but for my adorable child, I could persevere. Meanwhile, Tom sometimes talked about quitting his job on a whim to go independent. It was bewildering, especially just after giving birth, but he laughed it off with it's all good, pursuing the path he believed in. It was tough having to handle all the housework and childcare alone, without much support from busy Tom. But I felt he could break through any barrier. If I really got into a pinch, he would probably rescue me like a hero. Tom's optimism was a great relief. Gradually, my aversion to Michelle subsided, and I began visiting my parents more with Luke. Michelle and I are both nearing 30. The once selfish and cunning Michelle had transformed into a sophisticated adult, well-suited for luxury brands. Still single and living at home, she welcomed us every time, saying, "Sally, Tom, welcome. Please make yourselves comfortable. Luke, let's play with Michelle." It seems I was the only one holding on to the discomfort. What? Michelle is such a nice girl. Based on Sally's stories, I imagined a tougher woman, but she's like an elegant beauty. She incorporates brands subtly without being pretentious. Right. She's become so kind compared to when we were kids. I am relieved. Seriously. Sally, do you have a bad attitude? Were you jealous of cute Michelle? Putting her down won't raise your own stock, you know? Tom's words hurt me, but I reflected on having instilled a bad image of Michelle in him. Sociable Tom quickly became friendly with Michelle and my parents. Wow. Your dad used to run a company? I'm a business owner now. Really? Yeah, I work in distribution. It's a deep field. Trusting my eye for quality goods and hitting big feels amazing. Being an employee just isn't for me. Becoming an entrepreneur and feeling this great is the best. Michelle and my parents praised him, which seemed to please him. But Tom was getting carried away, so I nudged him discreetly. He frowned unhappily. What's up? Sally is opposed to my independence. Such a worrywart. It's not good for a wife to interfere in a man's work, right? My father responded ambiguously. It's fine. I want to hear more about Tom's work. Michelle's support led Tom to happily resume his chatter. That's amazing. You're incredible, Tom. Michelle was good at handling men. I felt a bit sick of Tom's attitude. Wanting to be well regarded by Michelle and my parents, Tom was more talkative than usual. The confidence I once liked in him now seemed shallow. The magic of love slowly melted away, and I began to doubt the cool, confident Tom. Unable to watch, I retreated to the next room with a crying Luke. Was it a mistake to look away from them? Michelle and Tom seemed to have grown close. One Sunday, while relaxing with Luke, Michelle suddenly appeared and talked to me. I'm sorry. Please divorce Tom. I'm pregnant with his child. What? As soon as she entered the living room, Michelle was tearfully pleading. Wait. I don't understand. Tom? My husband Tom? With tearful eyes and a faint smile, Michelle said to my confused self. Yes, your husband Tom. I'm pregnant with his child, so divorce him and hand him over to me. I felt a chill down my spine. Michelle hadn't changed. I knew all too well about Michelle's bad history with men, so I couldn't even sigh. I'm not even surprised anymore. Back in our student days, Michelle was always switching boyfriends. And she always targeted guys who already had girlfriends. But I never imagined she'd go after my own husband. How unprincipled can she be? I felt all the strength leave my body, just staring at Michelle emotionlessly. Michelle was crying, her face remarkably beautiful. It was like an actress's performance. How long can she keep up this act? I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you, not even a little. It's just that the man who loved me turned out to be your husband. Oh, everything I say just sounds like an excuse. I was wrong, so all I can do is apologize sincerely. I'm sorry for taking away someone so important to you. Spouting such insincere words, Michelle let out more tears. But did Tom really betray me and have an affair with Michelle? As if reading my thoughts, Michelle slightly raised the corners of her mouth. I might have been wrong, but you were too. Tom said so. You don't understand his work. Despite Tom working his fingers to the bone as a businessman, you neglect your duties as a wife and go off to earn some pocket money. Not supporting busy Tom, that's just too much. My husband said that? Michelle slightly lifted her chin in response. Yes. Tom confided in me. He said that ever since you had Luke, you've completely become a mother and neglected being a woman. But I've been trying so hard with work and raising Luke. Before I could finish, Michelle cut me off. Stop it. You're being unseemly. You say you're working hard on child rearing, but Luke is already over a year old. Even now, he's playing by himself. You're even sending him to daycare, so what exactly are you working hard on? This is what Tom told me. Michelle took a breath and looked straight at me. You've relied too much on Tom's kindness. It's no wonder he changed his heart for another woman. I fully understood Michelle and Tom's feelings. I was foolish to believe Tom would help me when it mattered. Did Tom, who dumped all the housework and childcare on me, ever actually help? Now, I'm so used to doing everything alone that I wouldn't be troubled without Tom. I burst out laughing. Oh, so I appeared to be just pretending to care for Luke, huh? Exactly. Sally, you used your role as a mother to neglect Tom. If it were me, I'd prioritize Tom first. Of course, I love the child in my belly too. But a wife who doesn't love her husband can't possibly love her family. Michelle then knelt down formally. Please let Tom go. Hand him over to me. I stood over Michelle and dropped my voice. Fine, but you'll take care of his debts, right? Michelle looked up at me, bewildered. She clearly didn't know. Tom has debts, you see. They've ballooned to $120,000 in just 1 year. Michelle's eyes widened like a small animal's, tilting her head.
What? You should pay that.
No way. It's only right for a husband to pay his own debts. Michelle's previously composed face now furrowed with frustration. Stop it. You're the worst. How far will you leech off Tom? You probably can't forget the luxuries from her childhood and ended up squandering money. I can't believe you racked up so much debt. I interrupted her. Michelle. Were you listening? I said it's Tom's debt. He talks a lot about independence in business, but in reality, he's drowning in debt. What? You mean like a bank loan? I understand that running a business needs a significant sum. $120,000 is nothing. It's a drop in the bucket. It's a loan from consumer lenders.
What? Why?
Michelle's mouth twitched, deepening the lines on her right cheek. But Tom said he just nailed a big deal recently. He said his work is going perfectly. Oh, right. There was that recent success. You know, with that very famous card game. A glimmer returned to Michelle's eyes. Oh, Tom works in gaming? I'd prefer something more intellectual, but well, it's an era where not just kids but adults enjoy games too. It's promising, right? It seems Tom has only shown the surface. Michelle likely didn't ask for details, not really interested in Tom's inner workings. Tom's amazing, she smiles, probably not even listening to the whole story. Michelle quickly recovered after hearing about the debt, surprising me with her swift turnaround. Their baseless confidence made me think that Tom and Michelle were quite alike. I was curious to see when Michelle's smile would fall apart. The new wife, let me show you Tom's workroom. I said, leading her to the room at the far end of the house. I switched on the light in the dark, curtain-drawn room. The room was overflowing with items, making the walls and floor nearly invisible.
What is all this?
Books, toys, clothes, games. There was no coherence in the type of items, just a mess. All of these were apparently Tom's precious products. This is Tom's work. Work. This looks more like a storage room. Yes, a storage room. Filled with unsold items. Michelle looked utterly confused. These are unsold products. Tom is into retail arbitrage. Retail arbitrage? Michelle's expression remained clueless. The bright world of flattery she lived in didn't seem to include jobs like this. Haven't you heard about it in the news? Well, it's reselling. Michelle's face twisted in realization. Reselling, as in hoarding tickets for popular concerts and then selling them at unbelievable prices to desperate fans who couldn't get them? Those scalpers. I saw an emotional Michelle for the first time. As a child, she used to hide stationery and posters of famous idols. I don't watch TV, so I don't know the trends. I like ballet, she'd claim, but it seems she had a past of being troubled by scalpers.
Tom's a scalper? No way!
That's when Tom came home. Probably rushing back after hearing that Michelle was confronting me. Michelle confronted him. Is it true you're a scalper? Tom looked into Michelle's eyes and answered sincerely. What I do is retail arbitrage. I don't know what lies Sally told you, but it's a respectable part of the distribution industry. It's a tough job that requires the ability to foresee market trends. So it's different from scalping? Well, yeah. Tom hugged Michelle, trying to gloss over his hesitant response.
Don't worry. I'm gonna make it big in this world. I'll make you happy, Michelle.
Tom. It was like a love drama with Michelle as the actress. Her eyes softened. I had to bring them back to reality. Before Tom makes it big, this storage room will probably get there first. They both froze. Tom started retail arbitrage a year ago. This room is filled with unsold items. Can you really sell all of this? Of course, I can sell them. Oh, sure. They'll sell quickly at a recycling shop. But you won't get even half the purchase price, right? Michelle and Tom, still in each other's arms. Tom turned away, his smile straining. Michelle held him tightly, her face like a demon's. For a failing retail arbitrage business, you sure talked big about being an entrepreneur. I was embarrassed just listening next to you. But I'm not an employee. So you say you're an entrepreneur? Hilarious. I couldn't help but laugh aloud. If you were making decent money, fine. But Tom, what are you doing? Just buying things that might sell, and ending up with excess inventory. Buying stuff you can't sell or use, that's just wasting money. Michelle stopped hugging Tom and stepped back. Michelle, it's different. Until now, I couldn't succeed because Sally didn't support my work. But with you, I'll make it. Definitely. We're getting married, right? Tom appealed to her passionately. There's a baby in your belly, right? I'll work harder than ever. Let's get married. Michelle, touched by Tom's passion, nodded, placing her hand on her belly. They hugged again. Tom grinned slyly. What a farce. I was curious to see what would happen when two overly positive thinkers got together. Sally, let's get divorced. Sure. Good luck. Tom and I got divorced immediately. Then he remarried Michelle. Luke and I went back to my parents' house, and Michelle moved into Tom's apartment. By then, her pregnancy was noticeable. We are getting a baby. Mom will be happy, she chirped. However, my parents ignored all of Michelle's attempts to contact them and never met her. Mom and Dad are surprisingly stubborn, huh? Michelle seemed to think that once the baby was born, our parents would change their attitude towards her. She didn't seem too concerned about it. Meanwhile, Tom's marriage wasn't what he had expected. Hey, doesn't Michelle have any money? Just 3 days after their wedding, Tom came to me to confirm this. It appeared that he had always seen Michelle as a wealthy young lady. Since our childhood when our family was affluent, Michelle's demeanor hasn't changed. She couldn't accept the fact that we were no longer wealthy. That's why she distanced herself from her school friends and always acted like she was out of reach. Our family was just an ordinary, if not slightly poor, household. But Michelle always wore high-end stuff. Yeah, but most of those are probably fake. Michelle is a part-time worker. She doesn't have that kind of money.
Fake? No way. I thought she was rich and kind, a beautiful woman, unlike Sally who doesn't spoil meat and smells of the common folk. I've been deceived.
Tom himself pretended to be a successful entrepreneur with his unprofitable retail arbitrage, so it was a deception on both sides. Michelle probably wanted to take what was mine, but it must have been a marriage for money. She'll soon realize Tom's true nature and regret it. I thought I could be supported by Michelle. Talking about being a good judge of merchandise, and yet you couldn't tell Michelle's brands were fake. Maybe you should quit retail arbitrage and get a real job?
Shut up. They looked real. Just like the real thing.
Tom, holding his head in frustration, suddenly seemed to have an idea. I could almost see the gears turning in his head. With a mischievous face, he nodded a few times. Maybe I'll try with high-end goods next time. I started to warn him but then held back. What happens to him is no longer my concern. Half a year later, Tom and Michelle came running to our parents' house. Dad tried to turn them away. But they wailed and screamed so loudly it was a nuisance to the neighbors, so we reluctantly let them in.
Please lend us some money.
It was hard to understand them through their crying, but they seemed to be in financial trouble. They had sold fake brand items as real and were now being demanded refunds by the buyers. Riding high on their successful sales, they had already splurged all the money. We don't have any money to lend you. My dad calmly refused.
Dad, your beloved daughter is in trouble. Won't you help her? They're threatening to sue us if we don't refund them right away.
Even as Michelle clung to him, Dad sadly shook his head. Why don't you take out a loan? Tom has been doing it for his purchases, so it shouldn't be a problem now. Tom scratched his head. I can't borrow anymore. Incredibly, he hadn't used the earnings to pay off his debts. The fake brand purchases were also on credit, and he had only been paying the interest. I wondered how much his debt of $120,000 at the time of our divorce had ballooned to. I'm glad I divorced. I accidentally said out loud. Michelle lunged at me. What do you mean by that? Why did you push such a debt-ridden man onto me? I'm getting a divorce, I don't need this man. What? Michelle, you were the one excited about selling the fake brands. You practically handled the purchasing and selling, saying it was your forte.
Shut up. Tom has no sense in retail arbitrage. I made a profit thanks to me, so be grateful.
They were indeed a perfect match. My mother, who had been silent, became Michelle's target.
Mom, I had a baby.
He's adorable. You want to see your grandchild, right? Lend us some money if you want to see him.
No, thank you. Are you discriminating against your grandchild?
That's awful. My usually quiet mother finally raised her voice.
Enough. You wanted the man Sally had, so it's your responsibility to help him out of debt. You have the nerve to come here after everything. I no longer consider you my daughter. Go live happily with your beloved husband in hell.
Mom. Michelle finally broke down in tears. Her beautiful face was twisted and wrinkled with real tears, not acting. My father mercilessly kicked them out of the house. We didn't pay them any attention after that. But we eventually learned of their whereabouts. The police contacted us. Tom was trying to scrape together some money by continuing his small-scale reselling. Compared to the fake brands, the income from reselling was just peanuts, and once they had tasted the bigger profits, it wasn't satisfying anymore. It's because you lie. Why not just sell them honestly as fakes?
Great idea. I buy them because they're reasonably priced fakes, after all. The selling price will be a bit lower, but let's make a fortune again.
And so, they got back into selling fake brands. After the previous uproar, they refunded the noisy complainers and dodged the rest. Return our money, we'll sue you. Despite these threats, they weren't punished and assumed they were safe. But bad deeds eventually catch up to you. They were finally charged with their crimes. I apologize for the trouble caused by my foolish daughter. My father repeatedly apologized to the police. He never asked for leniency. Instead saying, she hasn't shown any remorse. Please punish her severely. Michelle and Tom claimed they didn't know the items were fake, but the police didn't buy it and they were arrested. With no remorse and no compensation to the victims. They received actual prison sentences. They wailed "I'm sorry" when it was decided, but it was too late. And upon release, they'll still face a mountain of debt. I'm so glad I divorced. I feel this deeply. Tom, who bragged about his distribution acumen, ended up like this. I'm grateful to Michelle for giving me the wake-up call. I still live at my parents' house. I haven't remarried, but Luke now has a little brother. We took in Michelle's child. We're not wealthy, but without wasteful pretenders as parents, we manage just fine. By the way, I'm no longer told Sally, you seem like you wouldn't get angry by my colleagues. Handling two rambunctious boys leaves no room for calm. Luke is 5, Michelle's child is 3. Every day is incredibly noisy, it's almost maddening.
Stop fighting all the time.
When I turn into a demon, the two stop their quarreling. Look at each other, and run away as fast as they can. They know that jumping into their grandmother's arms is a safe zone. Well, so full of energy, my mom says, patting their heads. I'm the one to get angry, and grandma's the one to spoil them. The kids are innocent, so I've decided to raise them equally. They don't have to be outstanding or rich, just kind-hearted adults. Now, my throat is hoarse from all the yelling. Want some honey candy? The kids ask, offering candies in their little hands. Thank you, you're so kind. They smile shyly. They may be wild and noisy, but they're my adorable children.